You have reached Red Steele's Toy Collector Review. I'm your man, Red Steele, and today I'll be reviewing from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Krang. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Krang. But before I get to the actual review, I just want to go over some of the vintageness of this packaging. Up front here, you have the display window showing you both the figure and all the accessories inside. On the top here, you have this old school illustration of Krang using his brain drainer on Raphael. Over here, you have Krang. Below that, you have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles logo. Alongside here says Krang Weapon Brain Drainer. And over here, you have Krang and his life support system. Below that, you have a warning label. In the other corner here, you have the Playmates logo. On the back of the packaging here, on the top corner here, you have the Nickelodeon logo. In the other corner here, you have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles logo. Then over here, you have a caption that reads, "The evolution of the turtles. A boy's bowl of pet turtles falls in the stench of an underground city sewer. They land on Splinter, a penniless but powerful ninja master who lives in a muck." Over here it says, Splinter's enemy, Shredder, leader of the evil Foot Clan, pours a disgusting green ooze over Splinter and accidentally the turtles, hoping to zap him dead. And over here it says, instead, the turtle pets mutate into turtle teens, and Splinter turns into the biggest rat to ever face a trap. And last but not least it says, Splinter, the big cheese leader, teaches the turtles the way of the ninja. Together, they form a kick-stopping fighting team for the side of good against the deadly Foot Clan. Get ready for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And over here you have a cross of all the other available figures, and down here you have a final card that reads, Portrait of Krang, the bodiless, burbling brain, vital brantistics, weapon, brain drainer, mobile life support system, mechanized arms, birthplace, Dimension X, height, 1 foot 6 inches without body, weight, 17 pounds soaking wet, age, unknown, favorite phase, home is where you hang your hat, hobby, phrenology. Krang is all brains a body could want. Unfortunately, Krang ain't got no body. He is, however, the mastermind behind Shredder and the Foot Clan. Krang's ranting, burbling, quarreling, raging antics are a few of the reasons he was banished from his home sweet home of Dimension X. Now, Krang brings his smarty pants attitude to the decent planet Earth, where law-abiding citizens are threatened by his supreme intelligence. Krang also supplies Shredder with his controversial Retro Mutagen, the transformation substance which is instrumental in their conquest. Krang's tentacles allow him to wrestle the biggest headache, the Turtles, who pose a threat to his global dominance. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Basic Krang. Krang was released on January 15th, 2023 with the suggested retail price of $11.99, and he's available at all major retailers. Krang was released along with the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Basic figures, Shredder, Rocksteady, Bebop, Foot Soldier, Leatherhead, and Splinter. Krang has 7 points of articulation, and his accessories include his mobile life support system, brain drainer, and mechanized arms. Krang stands 4 inches tall, and he is meant for fans ages 4 and up. Now that I have Krang on my display table, so we'll go over some of his play features and accessories. First, by talking about his mobile life support system. In order to put Krang inside of his mobile life support system, you get this little window right here. In the back of this window, you have a hinge joint right there. I'm going to flip this window open. It reveals a little cockpit and seat up here. You want to take Krang and put him right in that seat. You want to close this window, but you want to make sure these grooves right here go around the arms. You close it up just like that, and now you have Krang inside of his mobile life support system. Because the next accessory I'm going to bring out are his mechanized arms. You got the right arm and the left arm right here. In order to put these arms on his mobile life support system, at the very end of these arms, you have a porthole right there and right there. In front, you have a peg right here and right here. And this is the only engineering difference between the original and this version of Krang. They went ahead and they put a porthole right through the whole arm right here, and they made the peg a little bit larger here, and that's because the original Krang had smaller pegs and had a tendency to snap off when you put the arms on. Making this change here makes the arms a little bit more durable where you're not going to snap off that peg. So just go and peg these arms in just like that, and now you have the mechanized arms installed on Krang's mobile life support system. Pretty cool. But the last accessory I want to bring in is this brain drainer and hose. That brain drainer and hose, you can arm on Krang, just slip them right into his hand just like that. And you have this little peg right here in the middle of the brain drainer. At the end of where the hose is, you have a little porthole right there. You want to plug that hose right in that porthole just like that. You want to take the other end, you got another porthole right here. And you want to go and plug that right into the mobile life support system. And now you have Krang fully armed with all of his weapons and accessories. A really cool figure, and Krang has a very special place in my heart because out of all the figures in my original run, he was the hardest for me to acquire. And I worked in retail, so I checked those shelves every day when I was working at Myers as a kid, and I never saw Krang. And just one fateful day, I took a 3-mile walk to Target, crossing my fingers, hoping that Krang would be there, and he was there. And I actually still have that very same Krang. He was the only one I did not let go of when I mentioned that I sold off my collection years ago, that I kept because I could not let this guy go because he was just so hard for me to get. But I do see a lot of molding similarities between the two figures. They're almost identical, besides, like I mentioned earlier on, you don't have that hole that goes all the way through the arm, and that peg's much smaller. So this has a high risk of snapping off when you put the arm in. The porthole's much smaller. But you have to carefully put it on, and as an adult, I have that finesse where I can actually put the arm on without like putting too much force behind that arm. But I do see a lot of color differences or color scheme differences between the two figures. Namely, you get this hose right here on the side that's red that goes right to the side here. On the original, it's purple and it's surrounded by like a red piece, and it's flipped on the reissue where it's red on the inside, purple on the outside. Then in the front here, you have that button here, and I think the buttons are meant to look the same, but it looks like it's more predominantly colored in the front. Now, I'm not sure if it's just a color scheme, or maybe it was just a QR difference, because I see some of the paints kind of on the life support system. So maybe that's meant to be the same. But on the other side here, you do have this piece right here, which is completely red on the original, and it's red. The outside of the reissue is gray. So you see some slight differences. I mean, the molding is exactly the same. In my original Krang, over time the window kind of got a little foggy, and it looks like it has a little bit of scuff marks on it, which is unusual because I don't recall really playing with my Krang too often. In Krang himself, they're exactly identical, except for the color. Seems like they use a darker pink for the reissue, and the veins are a little bit of a darker blue, and the eyes are darker blue or darker yellow for the reissue. But other than that, they're exactly the same figure. But I'm so glad that they decided to reissue Krang, because I know they've reissued Turtles over the years. They've kind of left Krang out of some of those reissues. I'm going to take my original, put them off to the side, because I want to bring in one last thing. I want to bring in the original packaging. I have the reissue right here in front of the packaging, and I have my original. And my original still has the original price tag of $397. Or I'm sorry, yeah, $369 is what it was. I mean, the top's the same. The insignia is a little bit darker on the reissue. They have a Foot Clan insignia here with Krang and the weapon's name. Here they have a description of it. But everything else is the same. You have a warning label in the corner because child safety laws weren't as strict back in the 80s as they are now. Like now they make sure they touch all the bases. And the back of the packaging is slightly different too. Like you have the backstory in the very top of the packaging, and for the reissue, where it's just a smaller version that's kind of condensed in the corner, you have the Retro Mutant News, and you have the cross cell right here, which is slightly different. And I believe this is Series 2 because Series 2 included Ace Duck, Genghis Frank, and April O'Neil, as opposed to the Foot Clan, where I believe Baxter, Stockman, and Krang were part of Series 2. You have a description of all the pieces and parts here. You have the file card on the bottom. Very, very cool. But I'm glad I held on to this figure because now I have something to do a side-by-side comparison with when it comes to the Turtles. Very, very nice figure. I do love this figure, and I'm glad that they reissued these figures. I'm just a little bummed out that this is a little crooked here, but hopefully it'll conform to its original intended shape. But if you guys found any of the information in this review valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you really enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. And while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Steele's Awesome Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.